Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of the Truckstops Here, brought to you by NATSO. Now, here's your host, Amy Toner.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Truckstops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren Schulte. Hi, Darren.
Hi, Amy. How are you today?
You're your co-host and guest today.
Woohoo!
Big deal. Okay, you're listening to the Truckstops Here, NATSO's podcast. NATSO is the National Trade Association for Truck Stops, and our mission is to advance the success of truck stops and travel centers. And this podcast is just one of the many ways that we do that. As I said, Darren is also our guest because he wants to talk about automated retail. So I thought we'd start with the first one is, what is automated retail? Tell us.
You bet. I think the easiest way to explain automated retail is to consider it essentially self-service, standalone kiosks that essentially operate almost like a fully automatic retail store in a very, very small set. You could almost say in some ways that when we were all young and when we would go with our mom and our dad to get cigarettes back in the day, they would go to a vending machine, put some coins in there and, pull a little button and out would pop the cigarettes. That's essentially automated retail.
So you're the truck stop guy. Why do you think truck stops should be looking at this?
Well, for a lot of reasons. So I think what I'll first talk about is, as you know, we've been pushing redeployment of labor even before COVID started, you and I, Amy, whether that's in our blogs and some of the articles, and then of course during the podcast. So we are in our industry already doing many automated items, but I have been shocked that we just haven't, taking that further. One example would be, this is not necessarily a retail situation, but, the big chains and some of the smaller operators have automated shower systems. So we took that automation to redeploy our labor. So now we don't have to have a key. The customer takes that key to the back. We have to then send someone back to retrieve the key. Then they bring it forward. So now we have automated showers. So I think if you look through a retail store, one of the best examples would be our electronic cases. So our industry in general does quite strong business in electronics. Many times we either have it in this big case that's locked up, or if we don't have it in a case, it's still locked up. And our core customer, the truck driver, is a time-sensitive customer. We all are as well, but we all know that he or she is very time-sensitive. So if you watch this kind of goofy idea that we do, so a driver comes into a store, he or she wants a CB, they wait in line to go to the counter, ask the person behind the counter, hey, I need to look at a CB. Depending if that person's available at that moment, which is currently probably not very often they're available because we're short-staffed massively, the driver waits there patiently. Then he or she waits for the customer. I'm sorry, the employee. The employee comes from behind the counter, opens the case. They decide on the product that the customer wants, lock the case, and then walk back and stand in line again. So if you think of something like a Best Buy kiosk that we see at airports, or an Apple kiosk we see at airports, train stations, we're beginning to see them at hotels. We see them in Macy's, Dillard's, and malls. That would be something super, super, super perfect for our customer, and also for our members. Think about the labor savings on something that simple. So that's just one example of why I think we should look more closely at automated retail. There's some other things. Think about when a driver decides to he or she take a shower. They go towards the shower and then they realize, oh, I need a bar soap, or oh, I need some shampoo. Guess what they have to do? Go back, wait in line, get the item. So can you imagine a kiosk right there next to the showers? It's nice and safe. They decide they need some hair care products or whatever it might be. They swipe their card or touch their card. Out comes that item. Once again, the labor doesn't have to be involved whatsoever. We have a happy customer, a happy retailer. Another example could be health and beauty cosmetics just in general. We traditionally either put that behind the counter or we put it in a primary position in our stores because we're worried about theft, right? And it's not necessarily a great seller. What if we put CVS pharmacies kiosks? You've seen them all over the place, I'm sure. CVS pharmacy kiosks right in our stores, for example. So I think the sky's the limit when it's related to those types of things. And again, our customers in general, our core customers specifically, but even others like us when we're driving, we're time sensitive, and we don't have time to wait. So I think the retailers that begin to take a look at those types of things are the retailers that are going to be on the forefront.
What about areas or profit centers where it would not work? Does anything come to mind?
That's funny. When I recently went to the NAMA event in Chicago, and we brought some truck stop operators with us. It was the first time we went to that show, which we all found fantastic. And I would highly recommend it for truck stop operators and travel center operators to put it on your list to go see. It just opened the world of what automated retail is doing. We had no earthly idea of the things that you can get through retail. Retail or food items through automated retail. And for example, is hot donuts or hot pastries, hot food, kolaches, all sorts of stuff that you could literally have in your store and sell to your customers either as an addition to what you're already currently doing for those customers that don't want to work, or don't want to wait. Forgive me, that do not want to wait. Or when you close your store down. So think of it this way. We keep our stores open 24/7.
Yeah.
But most of us, if we really did an analysis on our P&L, we probably don't make enough money to keep the lights on and a staff 24/7. What if you could shut your store down every night? Truck drivers still could pay at the pump, car customers pay at the pump, and you had automated retail outside, vending and so forth like that. You would probably generate as much sales. And in fact, you'd probably generate more profit doing it that way. Certainly some things, might run the risk of getting to worry about theft, but best is you probably wouldn't. Because what's really interesting for those of you that travel like I do almost every single week, airports are shutting down much, much earlier because they have to. They all have staffing issues. 2, 3, 4 years ago, if you're coming in from an international flight, you got the DFW at 6 a.m, there was nothing open, right? Admiral Club's not open. American Express Lounge is not open. There's nothing. And there was nothing yet food-wise. Now you go to DFW, they have salads, they have hot food, they have cold food, all done and sold through kiosks, all done. Yeah. So the opportunity to get different types of foods and options increases. Again, let's say you lost your headphones or you broke your headphones or you forgot your headphones on a plane. A short few years ago, if Hudson's wasn't open, which they weren't at 4 or 5 in the morning, you were basically out of luck and you had to use the crappy headphones that the airline industries would give you, right? So now you have great options. If you're an Apple fan, you go to the Apple kiosk. If you want something from Bang & Olufsen or from Bose, you go to the Best Buy kiosk, for example. And again, I think those types of options are stuff we should consider. There's no reason why travel centers can't sell Apple products in our stores. There's no reason we can't sell products from Best Buy in our stores. It's just, again, a rethinking. And the neat thing about that is if you have someone servicing that, you're not carrying the inventory. You don't have the labor issue. If you generate some sort of revenue share with these companies, they're the experts in this. And they know how to manage the inventory. They know how to do that. You're just essentially selling them space in your property, for example. But it does open you up for a whole different type of customer that may or may not be shopping with you today because he or she may want a high-end electronic item, for example. And again, just think about the cost savings if you could shut your stores down at night.
Totally.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we do a lot of traveling at night. My family does. And when you stop in the middle of the night, you definitely need coffee because you're driving, but we also try to do it really quick so my son doesn't wake up, and so I can see how that would really work well. You end up just not going in because you don't want to rock the boat, but if you could just quickly grab it, that makes perfect sense, Darren.
And if you think about it today, we have a large percentage of our car customers that don't come in our stores other than the restroom. Our conversion rates depend on location by location, but in general, 18 to 20% is all we're getting from an actual retail purchase. So what if we had, at a minimum, we had Coke and Pepsi kiosks, or vending machines at our pumps. At a minimum, someone might grab a soda or a water or something like that.
Totally.
Traditionally, it doesn't go inside. And in your case, for example, if you had like a Costa, which is really well known in Europe, they're owned by Coca-Cola, they're pushing here in the United States, they have really good coffee that's automated, right? You could have a coffee machine out there and to your point, you could get a hot coffee late at night without having to walk inside. So I think, again, what I think we will see is those retailers that are forward thinking are going to be, thinking through this type of things. Labor is not going to get in any easier. I think we're fooling ourselves if we think it will. I don't see it going back to where it was. And again, even pre-COVID, you and I have been talking about that labor's been a challenge for our industry, and now it's even more of a challenge. So if people aren't looking at it currently, I think you're fooling yourself. I would really take a hard look at all sorts of automated retail things. Because here's the funny thing. When you go into most of the sophisticated retail operators in our business, they already are doing a lot of automated programs. They just are not automatically paid for. What I mean by this is some of our members have automated Starbucks. They're machines, and you go up and you get you're on your own, you get your Starbucks coffee. The only thing we're not doing is paying for it at that moment. They have caribou coffee. They have a freshly smoothies. Some of our members have some of the most awesome, like Golden Oil has unbelievable automated stuff, smoothies, fresh squeezed orange like you see in Europe. If you want a fresh squeezed orange juice, they have a machine. The only difference is the customer doesn't pay for it at that moment. So for many of us, it would be an easy transition to switch it over for payment. Because someone might push back and say, you know what, that's going to increase my credit card rates. Well, I think in most cases, if we analyze what most people are paying with credit cards anyways, right? When I'm in line, and as you know, I'm in the stores all the time, people are paying for $2 items with credit cards. Right, wrong, or indifferent. They are. So I think that is something we just make up in our mind that, my credit card fees are going to go up. I bet that's just a transition from making the payment out there at the kiosk versus making the payment at the register.
One other thing I thought that was interesting is that it increases repeat sales. I think I've talked before about my favorite smoothie shop and the food hall by us. You'd order on the app and then you just go get it. And it's in this little cooler and you can just you just breeze by the other people. And because of that, we get it a lot because it's easy and quick. And so I was thinking for our members, there probably are a lot of repeat sales that would be, if you could make it easier for a driver, fuel additives was one I was thinking that it would really help with that. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. I've talked a lot about Mass Gen and the self-service. Bernadette and I go up to Tulsa. We were just up there last week for a week. Mm-hmm. We now stop at the DKs for that reason, because I don't have to wait in line. It's right, wrong, or indifferent. So it's funny how that one experience from 2 years ago has completely changed when we head up to Tulsa. I make a point every time we're going through Midland, Odessa. That's usually about the half point. We fill up, use the restroom. Sure enough, we go to that DK location, because no matter how busy they are, and during the lunchtime they are, especially when oil and drilling is going on, they've got a food service. That place is packed with workers. It's funny, the line is almost to the door, and Bernadette and I just go to that with our items and we're gone. I don't know if you've ever seen their video, but that's really what it is. There's a long line and a lady walks in and she puts our food down and like that, it's paid for.
You're out.
That is literally happening. And it's kind of funny to experience. So anyways, I think you're spot on. The more we embrace technology, and you've heard me say that even at NATSO Connect, and I know everyone doesn't have the funds. I'm fully aware of that. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
But I do think you have to kind of strategically, not tactically, but strategically look at what you could do. And the neat thing about the automated retail business is that business already exists, and in many cases you can get into it for the cost of electricity. That's it.
Yeah.
There are people that already do that, and they're already experts at this area. And it would just allow us to, again, redeploy our labor, redeploy some capital. If we're not having to invest money in HPC, just as an example, and we can attach a brand like CVS to the travel center or Best Buy or whatever it may be, it just really, I think, can be a game changer for us in a lot of categories.
Before I let you go, you mentioned the National Automated Machine Association show that you went to, the NAMA show with Pamela and our staff. Was there anything else you saw that was interesting there?
I think what I was most, again, the most thing I was surprised about is just the sheer volume of things that you can automate. We see it in our everyday. I reference the salads. There's flowers. There's pretty much automated vending all over the place now, and pretty much anything you can do. If I was to emphasize my surprise was the quality of things. So, for example, we tried food out of it, which is not a surprise with me, of course. And I was just shocked how good the food is.
Yeah.
I was shocked how interesting, like when it comes out of machine, it's not sitting there. So it's heated. For example, the Cinnabons. I'm not a big fan of Cinnabons, but the operators like Sean and Robin and Matt are like, you got to try this. You got to try it. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll try it. And I was shocked how good it was, only because it was hot. It was like getting something right off a Cinnabon
Yeah.
to the lane, if that, conveyor, the lane,
Yeah.
just literally out of the oven. The sandwiches, like I said, heated sandwiches. It was just very surprising.
It's so funny. Like if you take like mediocre food, but it's hot, it makes it so much better.
Yeah.
So if you have like good food too, that we always joke there's like this pizza place by our house. It's like a block away and it's horrible, but we figured out it was better than other places because we could like get it right away. Anyways, so that makes sense. If it comes out at the right temperature, then that sounds great.
And like the salads, I've been trying, and I'm trying to eat better. And now they have the salad. I should know the name because I've stopped just numerous times now. But the fresh salads, I'm surprised how fresh they are.
Chopped or something.
Yeah,
Sweet green?
Maybe good green. I thought it was fresh something. But anyways,
Yeah.
I've been shocked how fresh and it is, and how it's nice and cold and fresh. Another thing I think that we need to be aware of is how automated retail could change how we lay our stores out, how we design our stores. We did meet some vendors that are working on the let's call it the sin categories that require you to show your age verification, right? So for beer, for cigarettes, there was folks there that are working on that. So if you can imagine, most of the reason we have a counter today and where it's located hasn't really nothing to do with fuel anymore. Most diesel's prepaid. When I mean prepaid is, we get their card or they pay outside, and gasoline is almost entirely all prepaid. Yeah. So we have this counter that's strict because we have to have cigarettes behind our counter. Well, can you imagine a day when everything is done through age verification, either through your own ID, and then it matches your face to it? You can get cigarettes. Now all of a sudden you don't need that long counter. So a store could be made up of, I don't know, like maybe even almost like an Apple store. Like you go into there and there's people walking around, again, redeployed labor with tablets. So it just opens up a lot of different things. And then from the labor savings and even from the cost, or how our stores look will be very, very different for those folks that embrace it. And that's what I envisioned. They didn't talk about that at NAMA, but that's what I saw when I was there. I was thinking, wow, if you've never been to a micro market, like at a grocery store or a micro market at a business or a hospital, these little unattended micro markets, it's very, very possible that our travel centers in the future will be more like a micro market than they are as an attended travel. And it doesn't mean there won't be people in there. There'll still be staff in there. But I think it will look, I don't think it'll be like an Amazon Go per se. I think it could be more mirroring what we see at hospitals and other things like that, where it's just laid out completely different. And you just have one person there managing the whole thing. And it doesn't negatively impact sales or experience or speed.
Are you finding our members are looking at that? Are you getting calls about that?
So there's one member, which I won't mention, that I will tell you that he is on the forefront. Unfortunately, he's run into problems that people can't understand his vision because we're so set in our traditional ways.
Right.
I wish he would just move forward with it because I'm just blown away by his vision. But it's been challenging to talk with architects or designers or general contractors who are saying, no, this won't work because this is not how we do it today. And I think he's spot on, because one thing I will tell you that we do see popping up in the streets a lot more is unattended fueling stations. Canada's been doing that for a long time, Europe as well, but really Canada's been doing it for a very long time. It's hard to have people up in the frozen north tundra of Canada, but we are seeing that more often. You're seeing it in California, you're seeing it in Texas, seeing it in Georgia. So I'm seeing more of those folks pop up. And I actually saw a TikTok that one of our members sent me saying, hey, take a look at this. Here's an actual just regular customer pulling a pickup truck, putting it on TikTok saying, wow, this is amazing. There's not a single person here in this travel center and I can get everything I want, that I want. It's all, they shut the store down or whatever, it might be completely unattended. But, and I'm not saying that's going to replace the current travel center today.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I think something to keep an eye on.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Darren. I know we love talking about technology, so if people have other technology things, I hope they'll send it, request us at editor@natso.com. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Truck Stops here. You can find us online at www.natso.com/podcast. If you have any questions, like I said, we want to talk more technology, reach out to us at editor@natso.com.
The Truck Stops here was brought to you by NATSO, the association representing truck stops and travel centers. Visit natso.com for more information. The Truck Stops here is produced by NATSO in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.